Hi, in the previous lesson, we have looked at Java operators precedence and associativity. In the current lesson, we are going to look at some operators that can be applied on Boolean values. Let's get started. In the previous lessons, we have seen that the relation operations like 2 double equal to 2, 2 not equal to 2, or less than, greater than, less than or equal to, and greater than or equal to. These relational operations are going to return us a Boolean value. So that we have already seen. And these Boolean values can be assigned to Boolean variables, or wherever you need a Boolean value, you can use these relation operators. That's why they are covered here. Okay, that we have already seen and we know. Coming to our first Boolean operator, that is logical complement operator. When you apply a logical complement operator to a Boolean value, what happens is its value will be reversed. Boolean can have only two values, right? True and false. So if you apply this complement on true, it is going to become false. If you apply complement on false, it is going to become true. This is very simple. Just change the value from true to false or false to true. So here I am taking a variable whose value is true and I am printing its complement. So it is going to be false. So the complement of true is false. Okay, now here it is false, right? I am applying the complement again. Okay, so the complement of false is going to be true. So when you apply complement twice, the original value will not get preserved. You will get the original value. So if you apply complement twice on true, you are going to get true only. If you apply complement twice on false, you are going to get false only. So that is all about logical complement. You can change the value from true to false and false to true. Then we have three operators called logical operators, and they are nothing but AND, OR, XOR. Okay. In mathematics, there are truth tables related to these three operators. Okay, let's look at them. Okay. First, we are going to look at truth table for AND operation. Okay. So in this case, this is how we do the AND. Okay. This is the AND operator. And only when both operands are true, then only this is going to be true. In all other cases, it is going to be false. Okay, so very simple. If both are true, the AND operator will give you true. Otherwise, it is going to give you false. Okay. Let's move on to OR. These are very simple. Okay, so that is why I am not spending much time. Okay. This is how we use OR operator. In the case of OR, okay, if any of the values, any of the operand values is true, so here it is true, here it is true, here it is true. So even one of the operand is true, then the result is going to be true. Okay, that is what we are seeing here. So in case of OR, we are going to get more true values. So because even one of them is true, it is going to be true. So this is about AND and OR. Okay, let's move on to XOR. Okay, in case of XOR, okay, this is how we use the XOR operator. It is going to take two Boolean operands. In case of XOR, if both the operands are different, then it is going to be true. Okay, in this case we have true and false, so the result is true. Here we have false and true, so result is false. Whenever both are same, for example true XOR OR, what am I saying? Okay, if both the operands are same, meaning true XOR true or false XOR false, in this case it is going to be false. Okay, so what did we learn? So in case of AND, if both are true, then only it is going to be true. In case of OR, if any one of them is true, it is going to be true. Okay, in case of XOR, if both are different, then it's going to be true. Very easy to understand. So if you don't understand, or if it is the first time you are looking at these operations, So please try below examples. Like I have written all these truth tables, so when you run this program the truth table will be printed. So you can try with that and learn about these 3 operators. Okay, here when you are doing end operation, right, if you know if first one is false, you don't need to check for the second one, because true will be true only if both operands are true. The moment first operator is false, you don't need to check at second operator, right? That is the case with AND operator. Coming to OR operator, if the first operand is true, you don't need to check for the second one. In that case, it is going to be true only, right? Whether second operand is false or not, if the first operand is true, it is going to be true only. So in these cases, okay, in these 4 cases, I don't need to look at the second operator at all. If I am doing AND, if the first operand is false, the result is false irrespective of the second operand. If I am doing OR, if the first operand is true, then the result is true irrespective of the second operator. So to cover these scenarios, like where you don't need to look at the second operator, second operand, we have a different operators. So for example, if we move on, here we have, instead of single AND, we have a shortcut AND, or it is also called conditional AND. So also instead of single OR, we have a shortcut OR, or it is also called conditional OR. Okay, in this case what happens is, okay, here I am doing AND. Okay, I am taking an example, banking transaction example. To make a transaction, 2 things should be true, right? Your account should be active and you should have enough balance to make the transfer. Okay, so these 2 things should be true in order to make a transaction. This is how we make a transaction. This is how we check whether both are true or not, right? So in this case, if account is not active, okay, you can't make a transaction. You don't need to look at second operand at all, because the first operand is false, the result is going to be false and you can't make any transaction in this case. So these are the things, like these are the cases where this conditional AND is very useful. For example, instead of these simple Boolean variables, you have some expressions, complex expressions. So why do I want to evaluate second expression when I know I don't need its value, right? If the second operand is a complex expression or a method call or something that is going to take time to execute, I don't want to do that when I am not going to use its value, right? So in these cases, this conditional AND is very useful. If the first one is false, I don't need to check for second one, and I won't. So that is what happens here. So whatever expression you have here, it won't get evaluated at all. It won't even be executed. It won't, nothing happens with the second operator. Okay, let's move on to conditional OR. Okay, okay, what did we see in case of conditional OR? If the first statement is true, we don't need to look at the second, if the first operand is true, we don't need to look at the second operand. So irrespective of second operand value, it is going to be true. So here we are looking at the same transaction, but in this case, we know the account is active. So to make a transaction, you should have either sufficient balance. If you don't have sufficient balance, you need to have overdraft allowed. Okay, so here I'm checking for that. If there is sufficient balance, I don't need to look at whether overdraft is allowed or not. Okay, so the moment I have sufficient balance, I can make a transaction. So I won't look at overdraft in this case, because it is a conditional OR. If the first one is true, the result is true without looking at the second one. Okay, for example, says there is no sufficient balance, so it is false. So in this case, I will look at second one to see whether overdraft is allowed or not. So There are two scenarios. One is conditional and conditional or. In case of conditional and, if the first one is false, the result is false. In conditional or, if the first one is true, result is true. So second operand won't be looked at all. Okay, these are the operators that will work on Boolean values. I hope you understood this Boolean concept. I mean the operators that are operating on the Boolean values. These are going to come many times whenever we write some conditional statements. We haven't looked at conditional statements yet, but very soon we are going to look at them. So at that time you are going to use these kind of expressions: conditional and, conditional or simple and, or XOR. XOR is less, but and complement also. We are going to look at them. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and share it with others.